Hello again, everyone. Dr. Dan Bachman here. Time for an update. So it's been a little bit, I think a couple of months since we talked last, and interesting and good things have happened since then. So just as a quick recap, I got my diagnosis, went through chemo radiation for about a year, then had about 6 surgeries last year, and everything was going great as I was going through that process. All my tumor markers were going down on my blood work. They were shrinking in size on my CT scans. And then once I recovered from my last surgery, which was this last summer, today is February 16th, 2023, by the way. So for, I don't know, August, September, something like that, I'd recovered from my last surgery. We did another scan and stuff grew back. So there's a spot in my liver, there's a spot in my left lung, there's something they're not sure about around my tailbone. That had grown back. So, and my oncologist had told me, she said, you know what, we've already used all the big guns. You know, we used the heavy chemo, we went with a real strong dose because you're young and healthy, you could handle it, you can handle the side effects. So we've already used that stuff. We can't, and anything now that we might use chemo-wise is going to be weaker, it's going to have more side effects. She said, I don't have any strong recommendations for you, which I appreciate her being honest with me about that. She's fantastic. Sylvia Jaramillo is her name. And so I opted, at least temporarily, to go med-free. So no meds, no chemo, no radiation, no surgery. And since then, it's been about 4 months. And over that time, I've had 2 follow-up scans. We always do chest, abdomen, pelvis, and they look for, hey, are the spots growing? That's the main thing we want. We want to find out. Well, the first follow-up I had about 2 months ago said no new growth. So we said, hey, okay, this is good so far. It's only 2 months, but it's good news, so we'll run with that. And then just last week I had a second scan, CT of chest, abdomen, pelvis. Still no new growth. So this is adding, again, we can't project the future, but so far the data we're getting looks encouraging. So all I've been doing over this chunk of time, since I'm off meds and surgery, I look at it as the chemo and the radiation are basically a hired army that you can surround yourself with as you go into battle against the cancer, if you want to think about it that way. The army is doing all the fighting for you. You're protected in the rear, so to speak, and the chemo's fighting things, the radiation's fighting things, the surgeries are removing things. But you do that at the expense of your own armor that you wear. So the armor you wear I consider to be our immune system. So the reason people don't have cancer is because their immune system, their body's able to fight it off. I mean, that's my understanding. Because all tumor cells are cells that never stop growing. Our normal body cells have a programmed death date, essentially. So they grow to a certain point and then they die and they're replaced by new fresh cells. So, and then those grow and get to a certain age and size, and then they're replaced. So our cells are continually turning over as we go through our life. Cancer cells, on the other hand, are the same cells, they just never die, so they just keep growing. So the problems that develop from cancer are the cancer's taking up too much space. In my case, that's the kind of tumors that I have. They just keep growing and growing, and they take up space that's needed for other things, and they can choke off an organ, or they, pinch off something, or obstruct breathing, or whatever the thing, in my case, obstructing my GI tract so that things couldn't get out. And there are other kinds of tumors too that can eat away things, but anyway, mine are the kind that take up space. So 4 months now, no new growth. And I'll say this, obviously I would like them to shrink and I want them to in the future. However, in the short term, all I care about is, hey, they're staying the same size. They're not taking up space. They're not impeding my organs from functioning. My liver, I have no liver symptoms. I don't have jaundice or anything like that. Don't have GI issues to speak of as far as upset stomach or constipation, diarrhea. I don't have anything like that. So as if theoretically my tumors never grew, but they stayed there, who cares? I could live the rest of my life with what I've got now. So that's good news. And in answer to, a lot of you have asked questions in comments on the YouTube channel, and I apologize, I have not been able to answer many of you. However, some of it's been about diet. So people have asked me, okay, so you're not doing meds, what are you doing? here it is. It's basically clean living is the short answer, and that means I would say I'm mostly vegan at this point. I do eat some dairy. It's not nearly as much as I used to. The diet honestly has been the trickiest thing for me in this whole process, and it's basically I'm trying to find a diet that is good for supplementing my immune system and yet tolerated by my GI issues. So remember, I don't have a rectum, which is the last bit of the long tube that is our GI system. They took out the rectum, which is, I don't know, about 6 inches, the last 6-8 inches or something like that. Now, that part of our GI tract is important because it's the holding area for the food, so it can accumulate there before you get rid of it. Now, without that holding area, every time you eat a bite of food, it goes into the tube along with a lot of other bites and just kind of makes its way through, and then you end up having bathroom trip after bathroom trip. As opposed to with a holding area, it lets it accumulate first, so you may only need to visit the restroom once, maybe twice a day or something like that, because it's had a chance to accumulate. So I don't have that. Now, what I've been told again, I think I mentioned in a previous video, my docs tell me, hey, the remaining bit there, we just cut out the rectum and reattach the end. The remaining bit down at the end there will learn how to be a rectum in a holding area. So, and that has been, in fact, been happening. So my urgency, without going into too much information here, my urgency is way down. About half the bathroom trips I was having, about 30 a day before, now maybe about 15, which sounds ridiculous, but it's, oh my gosh, it's so welcome at this point. So I can have a life outside of, a restroom. So again, not to get too deep into that, but so that's been improving, frequency and urgency. Also, I just feel better. I don't have as much pain. I don't have as much just this general discomfort, bloating, stuff like that. All that stuff's improved a lot. So back to diet. So I need a diet that's both good for my body health-wise, my immune system, but I also need a diet that my GI tract handles well while I have these increased frequencies that I'm having. And I found that food can matter a lot for that. So the short answer is I've limited my fiber, and I know fiber is fantastic, but if I eat too much fresh or raw fruits and veggies, it just gets kind of awful. The symptoms get worse, get more pain and stuff like that. So I'm limiting my fiber a little bit. I'm still, like, for example, I have 3 meals a day. The first one is just liquid. So I do a shake, and I do a protein shake, and I add some fulvic acid to it, which is not folic acid, but fulvic, F-U-L-V-I-C. Basically, it's a nutrient that's found naturally in soil, and that we would get through soil into our foods that we then eat. And has nutrients and minerals and stuff in it, apparently. Well, we don't get that anymore because of current farming methods. So I supplement that. I supplement that into my diet. It's a liquid. I just put it in my shake. So I'll do a grass-fed whey protein powder. So I do about, I don't know, 30 grams in the morning, and then I put some of that fulvic acid. I'm also supplementing with pomegranate juice, which is a great cancer fighter. Black seed oil, which is kind of a just general health supplement. My mom has researched a lot of this stuff, so I don't have all the deep background on this stuff, but these are the things I'm taking, and I'm not saying you should take them if you have similar issues, just letting you guys know what I'm taking. And let's see, I take elderberry extract, which is antioxidant and again, general health supplement. Then I also take, on the recommendation of my oncological nutritionist, Dr. Lupnitz, Glenn Lupnitz, who's here in town. He's awesome. He's recommended I take several other things. I'll list them in the comments there just to save some time here. So I'm doing that. I'm making sure I get plenty of sleep. And for me, because I get up and down so much at night, I have to spend a lot of time in bed. So I'm in bed about maybe 10 hours a night in order to get 7 or 8. So that I do. I'm hydrating well, drinking about 3 liters a day, probably on average. Exercising as frequently as I can. And again, I'm a little limited as what I can do there, but I'm doing a lot of walking and gym work. So I'm in the gym about 3 days a week. have super short workouts. I've been growing in strength in all of those things over time, which is encouraging. Putting on some mass. So I was down to 130 pounds before. I think I'm about 175 now. My typical running weight would be around 185, and that's when I was, healthy and able to eat as much as I like. That's another tricky part too, is because I'm limited as to what I can eat and what I tolerate and when I eat it. Because once I eat, there starts this whole process. Haven't been able to consume as many calories as I would like, so I'm trying to sneak them in whenever I can that enables me to work without interruption and gives me good nutrition, and my GI system handles it okay. So I'll put a few more details as far as specific stuff that I take in the description below the video here. So the short answer is I feel good. I feel good. I'm steadily feeling better. It's a slow process, but over time I'm feeling better. I think we're like 4 months out from surgery, 4 or 5 months out from surgery, my last surgery. Everything is definitely improved. Still a long way to go, but I like the trend. The trend is literally all I care about. If it's heading the direction I want, I'm happy, as long as that continues. So let's see. I have the other thing I'll say too, because I've had a couple of you guys ask, like, hey, what's your attitude like? You seem like you're upbeat and positive all the time. Is that an act, or is it real? You just feel, happy? And it's the second part. I just feel good. In fact, I was on a podcast. Someone invited me on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he asked me a surprise question. He said, what was the happiest time of your life? And I thought about it. Honestly, it's right now. This is the happiest time of my life. And which seems bizarre, because I have this thing hanging over my head, supposedly, this health issue. But it's true. And I think the reason for that, I think it's because when you feel like you have almost unlimited time, 30, 40 years. I'm 54 years old, and you think, well, if I'm healthy, I may live another 30, 40 years, something like that. When you feel like that you've got kind of almost unlimited time, there's no urgency to take care of stuff that you're passionate about, or to follow up on ideas or projects and things like that. So they end up getting postponed. And that's me, let me tell you. And I'm sort of a perfectionist as well, which is not good, because the thing that I run into with myself is, oh, I have this great idea. I want to turn it into this real thing, this project of some kind. But I don't want to release it until it's perfect. So the problem is it's never perfect, so it never gets released or it never gets completed. Well, guess what? As soon as you figure out, wait a second, I may not have the 30 or 40 years. I have an unknown length of time in my future. It lights a fire under your butt, and it makes you like, okay, I got to make every day count, because I don't know how many more days I have. I mean, of course, none of us do, right? None of us do, but there's more urgency here, because hey, the future is a little less certain for me than it used to be. Now, what that translates to is I'm getting on stuff. I've got a video project. I'm shooting my self-treatment course for low back pain, turning it into a simple online course that anyone can take anywhere in the world on any device. And that's something that does not exist currently in the world, and it's hugely needed. Low back pain is the biggest problem in the world, essentially, that affects the most people in the biggest way. My low back pain self-treatment program is super simple. It works amazingly well. And my dream has been, for over 10 years now, is to convert this rehab process that I do with my patients here in this clinic into an online course that anyone can take and benefit from, hopefully. And over the years, I've tried 2 or 3 times. This is, I think, my 3rd or 4th iteration of this video shooting process. And I've never been happy. Well, I just broke down. I said, I'm going to hire a professional video crew and model and editing team, and we're going to have full lights and sound and green screen, everything we need to do it right this time. So we're shooting that Monday. So today is Thursday. So just a couple of days from now, I'm super stoked about that. But my point being, when you have some uncertainty in your future as to how much of a future you're going to have, it spurs you on. It gets you activated and anxious to get things done now, because I have stuff to do. I'm not ready to leave yet. So that's been kind of an unexpected benefit from this whole experience. So anyway, I'll keep you guys posted on that. Stay tuned. I'll post information on that when it becomes available, and then I'll be adding in a shoulder rehab and neck rehab protocol, self-treatment courses, knee, foot and ankle, elbow. So we'll just kind of fill in and make a whole suite of tools that anyone can use anywhere in the world to fix themselves, so they don't, if they can't afford a doctor, their doctor's too far away, they can't come in every visit. That's what this is designed for. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked on my own stuff. These are things I'm excited about. To all of you who are following along and commenting and watching, thank you. I cannot thank you enough for being there and just saying anything. I appreciate that a lot of you are either going through similar stuff yourself, or you have a friend or family member who is, and my heart goes out to you. The deepest prayers and sympathy and love and encouragement I want to send to all of you. And I'll also encourage you again. I'm not reimbursed for this at all, but this one book that I read really made a difference for me in helping me deal with this issue initially, and it's called Radical Remission. I forget the name of the author, but Radical Remission is the name of the book. And basically, the author did a great thing. She learned that there were people who mysteriously got through their cancer and no one knows why. Meaning, a lot of times these folks were sent back home to, put their affairs in order. The doctors had said, we've done everything we can do. This is the time to, spend with your family and prepare for the end. Or they were sent to hospice or something like that. And these people survived against all odds, against medical odds anyway. So what she did is she went and interviewed all these people, and she found that they had 9 things in common, meaning there were things that this group of miraculous survivors all ended up doing. And she made each one of those things a chapter in her book. So, it's a brilliant concept, and I love the way she thought of it and lays it out. It's beautifully done. I listened to the audiobook, which I highly recommend. But essentially, only 2 of those 9 things are physical things, like diet, exercise, and so on. The rest, the other 7 things, are all up here. They're all things like stress reduction, adding sleep, or working through grief or trauma, getting in touch with your emotions, showing love to people or pets even. So interestingly, showing love to pets gives you the same scientific and physiological response as showing love to people. And receiving love. So there's giving love is one, receiving love is another, and from pets as well. And of course I have both. I've got my parents. My mom's been living with me, my dad's currently staying with me, and I have a cat who is also very affectionate, which helps too. So my point is, this book, in addition to telling the stories of these people who are going through it, I found it hugely cathartic, therapeutic, to just hear about other people going through the same thing, hear about it in their words, and to hear these techniques that they use to get past this thing in their own life. So I can highly recommend that book. Again, I get nothing for recommending that. Just something has been helpful for me. So I feel like I'm leaving some stuff out here. The other thing is, when I went in to see my oncologist after I got my recent scan, she walked in with her medical assistant holding my CT scan in her hands, and she looked at me and she said, "All right, you got to tell us what you're doing." So she was pleasantly surprised and unexpected, didn't expect the kind of results or the no growth that we're seeing so far over 4 months. So I thought that was awesome. So she's like, "All right, you got to tell us your secret." So I told her the things I'm telling you guys. And she said, "You know what? If you're doing this well over 2-month increments, we can stretch it out to 3 months if you want." So I'm getting scans every 3 months, and we're doing blood work as well. We're doing a CEA blood work, which is a carcinogenic, embryologic, I forget the term, but it's a cancer marker. And we're also doing a brand new blood work study called Signatera. Signatera looks for molecular level tumor circulating in the blood. So it's an even more precise measure of tumor than the CEA is. And you get your results more in real time than kind of lagged that you kind of get with the CEA. So we're doing 2 sets of blood work and CT scans now every 3 months. I'll keep you guys posted on how that goes. But so far, I'm loving it. I'm happy. My joy and optimism is sincere. I can assure you of that. It's just more fun it's just more pleasant, I guess, to look at things from the bright side than the dark side. Because I mean, who wants to be miserable all the time and focused on this bad thing all the time when you could be focusing on the good stuff? So I hope that answers questions. If you guys do have more questions about the diet and stuff, leave them in the comments below. I'm going to do my best to, I'll leave you the list of supplements that my oncology nutritionist recommended to me. Again, it's not me recommending it to you. I'm just letting you guys know, so there's something maybe you can ask your doctor about. So anyway, love you all. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your winter, a great spring coming up, and I will see you guys next time.